Roll dice, be nice, and stay tuned. This is the Live to Die podcast.
So I have a question.
Oh, yeah. What?
We've got a lot of film and TV lovers in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, James and I were talking about what is your all-time favorite scene where you're like, this scene is perfect, top to bottom, so good, no notes, favorite scene. Let's just say in TV. We'll keep it to TV.
That the best scene is from The Wire.
Oh, this was on the
I already agree.
I disagree.
When they're investigating the room, trying to figure out where the
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Such a good, no notes, 0 notes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that. That's just the one that's sticking out in my head because we've talked about it so much lately. I started getting anxiety from having to choose when you said that.
Yeah, there's a lot. Actually, we did a top 5 of these are my 5 favorite scenes. I think they're great. I wouldn't change a thing. But I just didn't feel like we had time. So you must pick one.
Fair.
Most of Fleabag.
Fleabag is also chock full.
The ending of Fleabag, 0 notes. Fantastic.
Totally.
Well done.
This conversation was best scenes, but also we talked about scenes that made you laugh the hardest, single scenes of anything. And one of mine was Fleabag season 2, where they're out in the little courtyard, and it's the first time the priest is I'm terrified of foxes.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just ends on both of them being ah! And I don't think I've ever laughed harder watching TV.
That's such a good show, man. That was a perfect show.
I just saw on TikTok, I think, the opener of the episode where she her nose is broken, I think, in the restaurant. And she's just kind of standing there. And then she looks over at the camera and is like, this is a love story. And then it just goes right to the credit. That's a well
All
done.
right. So we have 2 Fleabags and a The Wire for great scenes in television.
There's got to be something from Breaking Bad.
When you said laugh, I thought about Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh.
The opener when they do the Backstreet Boys song.
Oh, God. That's
Tell
him.
me why.
That is fucking hilarious. And I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at a television show than that scene right there. It was just so clever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's a top laugh for me.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot in there, but a lot of top laughs for me come out of Community.
Yeah.
And specifically the bit when Abed is in the women's studies class with everyone and Hilary Duff's in the episode and he's in the room and Chang just laughs and shoots milk out his nose. Mm-hmm. I can laugh until I cry just watching that clip on loop.
One of mine was also Community, where they're rolling the D20 to figure out who goes to get the pizza. And then when it's Troy's darkest timeline and he comes back up and Pierce got shot and everything's on fire. So funny.
That is funny.
So I am going to go Breaking Bad. It's not a laugh scene, but the episode with the fly, inside of the lab, where he's desperate to get the fly. I love that episode.
Man, that episode drove me crazy.
He's so desperate to get the fly that he just he does stupid stuff because he's I think the fly probably has some representation that I'm not entirely sure of.
Probably.
But it's just it eludes him constantly and he can't help but to try and get it. Even ends up seriously injuring himself trying to do so. That's a great scene.
I've been watching Stranger Things recently.
Oh,
and are you all caught up? I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Yes.
Yeah, so spoiler.
I've only got through season 3. So
I think we
got
all
another
watched
season to go.
the last 2 episodes together, except
Oh, nice.
you should come next time.
Yeah. I'll be caught up, hopefully.
Can I quick aside on the Stranger Things? You finish it, then I'll do my Stranger Things thing. Go.
Oh, no. I just enjoyed the scene in season 3 where Dustin finally talks to his girlfriend and he needs the equation and they have to sing the Neverending Story. And I enjoyed that very much.
That was great.
Something Jane told me that made me super excited. So they're working on season 5 of the show now.
Yeah.
And they've appointed a showrunner that isn't the Duffer Brothers, I think, or at least someone to come in and help a lot with it. And Jane told me this and it made my day when she told me she found this out. It's the guy who directed 10 Cloverfield Lane and Prey,
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
who's an awesome director.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan something. What's that guy's last name?
I don't
Either
know.
way.
But those are both great films
Yeah.
and very on vibe.
Can I just say another perfect scene? And I am pandering to Trent's thing here. Frasier, the episode
Oh, yeah.
where Niles is trying to get ready
Yes.
to go and keeps passing out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect scene.
It really is.
Until the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that was like my answer. Was one of the funniest scenes ever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like an actual like a scene that I think is really good. I don't think it's like a hot take, but I really really like just because I think it's an interesting juxtaposition of emotions. The baseball scene at the end of Band of Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't finish Band of Brothers,
That's fair.
but the guy's name is Dan Trachtenberg.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So I think I'll give that, although there's been a lot of good ones and there's a lot of TV shows I love. And Jane rightfully highlights that like I get very emotionally invested in TV and like cry at the end of seasons of Cobra Kai.
Yeah. James cried real tears.
So hard.
Yeah. We were watching the season finale of Cobra Kai and I was like, are you crying? And he was like, they just worked so hard to be here.
Listen, man, there's a scene in Rebels, and I won't ruin it for whoever hasn't seen it. And if you haven't, watch it because Ahsoka's coming
Oh
out.
God, Rebels is so good.
But I'm looking at James. There's a scene in Rebels that is terribly, terribly sad as fuck in the final season. And somebody like put some music over it and put it on TikTok. I ugly cried all 3 times I watched this thing. It was so sad. So sad. And if anybody wants to email me and talk about this sad moment, because I know you know what I'm talking about, I'm here.
Just reach out to
I'm
you
still
on Twitter
processing it.
or X or whatever it's
We can
called
go
now.
through it together.
Yeah, X.
X me.
But I was thinking about this because
X at me.
somebody
So
apparently
stupid.
today
So
has a scene, like a single scene.
Right.
And I was like, wow, great scenes.
Jane just
Scratch
stole
my-
the segue for
Yeah.
me.
It's my
Yeah.
show now.
Still
I am the
it.
GM now.
It's definitely not Biff.
Oh,
Nope.
you know what?
He's dead.
I got to respect the hustle for stealing the segue from me. Take a
Hey.
hero
Yeah.
patch.
That's
Also,
my
Yeah.
patch. You.
Yes, Trenton?
I also want to do one other. This is an off mic patch. Jared, if you'd be willing to take that Denver patch for putting the work in to handle the inventory. And I think that's one thing I'm going
Yes.
to do. I'll kind of
Yeah.
call it out at the beginning of episodes. I'll word patches for it. But a game like this has a ton of off mic management, whether it's kingdom, resources, food, all of that. So I'm going to give some patches, which I know I can be bad about giving out, for off mic management things. So I think it was literally last night. Jared went through and figured out the sell value of the things that you have and what you could move.
Yeah, I did that.
12:47 a.m.
12:47 a.m. Yeah. I was laying in bed. I was like, I should just do this real quick so we have it for tomorrow.
So there you go. You've got a hero patch.
I was playing
But,
Baldur's Gate 3, all right?
Yeah.
okay, literally the opening I want to do next episode is talking about Baldur's
I
Gate
won't,
3.
I won't spoil it.
Speaking of inventory management,
Yeah, no kidding.
I will be taking the beginning of next episode off.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't played it either.
Well, Trent.
Well, I don't know any movies, so.
Hey, I'm sure you know a Bluey or something.
Bluey, yeah, sure.
Awesome.
My
Like the
favorite
episode-
scene, perfect scene top to bottom in Bluey.
Yeah, the episode where
There's some good
they
scenes in
pretend to
Bluey.
be horses and they get married. That's a good one.
so one last one then.
Adorable.
My wife and I, we have not actually still finished, but we decided to burn through ER.
Oh my God.
Oh, my
Michael
like
Crichton's
14
They have been doing this
series.
for literally years
Yeah.
now.
Sort of a slow burn.
Several times the scenes were so well written and so devastating that like for a week my wife just like was in a state of despair,
Yeah.
like
I-
from a TV show.
This is an ER spoiler, so if you haven't watched all 14 seasons of
damn.
ER, but like whatever happens in the episode where George Clooney left the show, I swear Casey was like, we hung out like a week after that, and she was, I was like, how are you doing? She was like, I've had a really bad week, and I was like, why? She was like, because of this scene in ER where George Clooney like.
And it really is like devastating. And then you're like, wait, I'm watching a TV show. Not only that, I'm watching like a 30-minute TV show that used to come on at 7 p.m., you know?
At least it's not a replay of an animated show that you're watching on TikTok.
Sure.
Well, look, we won't get too much into it because we're about to open up on maybe some new stuff. But I was just editing the episode in which Biff dies the other day, and like Jane came into the room and I was tearing up and I'm like, it's fine. I'm just gonna have a rough rest of the fucking day.
And I was like, it's your fault. You did it.
I couldn't sleep that night. I think I went to bed till like 3 a.m.
When Jared asked if he could be knighted, James had tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
Try not to choke up on Mike.
I'm in a glass case of emotion. Not that it's hard, but I did it.
All right. Trent, if you want to
Yeah, speaking of Biff, Fire Day, 27 Aradus, 4718 AR. Dear son, it brings me no pleasure to write to you this day. My deepest apologies for the directions you will find below, for which you will not, under any circumstances, disobey. It appears Biff has run away, and his whereabouts are unknown. I can only assume it was of your urging of his own knightly training, which you will remember I explicitly forbade, that has led him to flee our home with a weapon from the Monmouth family arsenal. Therefore, I have sent word to your commander that you are hereby ordered to return home. Your training as a recruit will be placed on hold until the kobold is back where he belongs. I assure you, Arthur, the danger our family faces should any harm come to Biff far outstrips any threat from the tyrant in his prison. Hurry home, son. Yours in the light, Sir Marcus Monmouth, retired. An armored fist balls up the parchment and throws it angrily into a fireplace. I am held back at every step! Arthur slams his fist on the table. I will have my revenge on these forces of chaos and destruction. Missing brother be damned. But he hesitates. The danger our family faces. Father had never mentioned anything like that about Biff. True, getting him to say most anything about the kobold had proved impossible, other than that his care was, quote, our family's burden. Now suddenly there's danger. Arthur's eyes drift to the fireplace. The flames dance in his pupils, and in only an instant he's back there, in Rosler's coffer. 12 years old. The screams. The rivers of blood. The massive orcs. Their laughter. Arthur snaps back to his room. His commander enters with regret on his face. Well, I'm sure you've heard then, Wart. Pack your things. Ain't no way I'm disobeying a directive from your dad. You'd best not either. Arthur stands and begins to gather his few belongings. His hand reaches for the one thing he's come to care about these days. A steel shield, marked with a red blade piercing a skull. I'll be back to finish my training in no time, Commander. I will be a Crimson Reclaimer. After all, my brother is a kobold. How far could his little legs possibly take him?
Whoa.
You know my favorite part of that was? This is how that veteran signed his letter retired. To his family member.
You know, it really makes me think about how like every dad signs off a text message with -dad,
Yep.
and it's like, I know who this came from.
Not every day. I don't do that.
did you ever work with people, Jason, that would sign off retired?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They would remind you retired as much as they could. Or the term the graybeard. Anyone who's in the Navy that's like cringed at that sound. The graybeard.
Well, let's move up. Not to give too much away here, Trent, but I'm going to say let's move back up north from that scene.
Yes.
To the town of Restov.
And forward about 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
Whoa.
Okay.
Wow.
So do we get a like Abram style 3 years later text that came up?
Earlier.
I was like, how do I make it clear other than putting in the year, which isn't really helpful for a listener? Yeah, it's been like 3 years.
I wrote it down and was
that
like, I got to
transpired.
check out when this year was.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be back in no time. 3 years later.
All right. So right now we're following 3 characters here. Nikolai, Ari, and Lucky. You're up at Lady Jarmondi's manor in the southern Brevin city of Restov, the cultural center of the state of Rostland. Guess I did a lot. I did a lot of world background prepping last night, so I'm ready to talk about the history of the state
I love it.
of Rostland, but I don't know if that'll come up. So you're all in town, and I believe where we last left was we sort of previewed maybe someone coming after Biff, Trent's character, and that you just sort of finished up your deals and that you'd gotten your charter. So what's next for the group? Now, you along with your charter, which I'm not going to reread for the group, but essentially it is a Brevoy charter giving you sort of permission to hunt down bandits and to take stuff from it. Without getting too into depth here, it doesn't come up in a lot of adventures, but in this one it kind of does, that like, if you are to come back into Brevoy with a bunch of money, you're going to have to pay or like a bunch of loot and gear. You're going to have to pay taxes on it or answer kind of where you got it from, unless you go through some, dealers that might not be able to pay as much outside of the country. So a charter like this essentially lets you come into the borders of Brevoy with loot clearly taken from people or things like that. And it sort of gives you permission if you're ever dealing with guards. There's always that question of like, yay, we killed the bandits, so you murdered a bunch of people. How is that okay? Here is your charter. Almost sort of like a privateer's license. It's sort of like that. You were given this permission to go and do this thing. Along with that, I do believe that they told you, hey, one of your first stops you should make is at a trading post west of here, about 50, 60 miles west of here, along one of the sort of old roads that's now become a bit more of a game trail. So what would all of you like to do? Should we deal with the fact that a guard's coming up right away and just says...
Yeah, I mean, I think
Just
Ari
jump
would
right
want to
into
go
it.
see what this is all about.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So I believe, and I'm just going to pull this out of my ass, that one of the guards was, we've got someone here who's says they're looking to talk to anyone who knew Biff.
Yeah, that's us.
We knew Biff.
We knew Biff.
I mean, knows Biff.
I didn't know.
Anyone who knows Biff's whereabouts? Well, I think the guard would know past tense. The guards are very aware of what all of you have been up to. So I think Lady Jarmondi sort of offers you one of the rooms in the building to take a meeting, just given everything you've done over the last 24 hours or so. And a couple of the guards bring you in and get you all sat down. I think the guard that you all kind of got to know was... what was the mustached guard's name? But he's the one who like let you into the main chambers of the room.
Oh, the one
was
that
in the
had
main
the
hall.
wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who absolutely didn't help us make sure our friend didn't die.
I mean, he was actively holding down an area, but yeah, I suppose Avenzi. So I think it's
Oh, yeah.
Avenzi. Kind of get you seated down. Do you need anything before we bring the guest in? Should we expect any trouble?
Who is this person?
We don't know a ton. Lady Jarmondi just said that I had some letters and information that checked out. Someone from down south looking to talk to Biff.
What time of day is it?
That's going to be difficult.
It's like a day. Let's say it's a day after the funeral and the charter. So it's probably like 10 or 11 a.m.
Okay.
Sort of midday.
Could I have a round of ales, please?
Of course, we'll
Great
get some
idea.
Drink brought in. Great. Well, we'll bring your guest to see you in a minute. Lucky, anything for you?
No, I think he's just gonna observe mostly.
It's like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a good watered down meat.
I
It's a
was going
perfect
to
10
order
a.m.
a hard-boiled egg too, but I decided.
I love that this is like a guard, like a very distinguished guard of this house, and we're just like, yeah, can you bring me a snack?
Can you go get me some stuff?
What I
Earl
think,
Grey, hot.
Talk about perfect scenes.
I think a part of it is just sort of what you mentioned. Like the three of you used to be four. One of you gave your life, and three of you like showed up. He works here. This is his job. He's taken care of. you gave of yourselves, like you sacrificed to help him and help save their lives.
Ari is a 17-year-old who killed a giant.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And so you're sat there.
You definitely don't want to peak at 17. That's not fun.
Don't worry, she'll probably die.
You're sat there for a minute or two before a couple of the guards, not Avenzi, some of the house guards knock, open the door, and Trent, sort of, what do the three of them see?
So a plate armored human male with a steel shield. Obviously, he's not defensive right now, but it does have this red blade piercing a skull on it with a bastard sword on his back. He is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, long flowing locks. He is something like 6'4".
Oh, God.
You know, he's a big, tall guy,
Yeah,
Jared. He is stout for sure. And he just sort of comes in. He almost looks annoyed. And where is my brother?
Who's your brother?
Biff, the kobold, come on.
He's your
I
brother.
just want to take him home. I've been searching for this imbecile for 3 years now. I know he's here. I just want to go home with him.
Nikolai stands up and he says, my friend, what is your name?
I am recruit Arthur Monmouth.
Arthur. We have some very bad news about your brother.
He's left again.
And he walks over to you and he reaches in his pocket and he puts that piece of the shattered shield that he took and like folds your hand over it and pushes it back and says, your brother gave his life to protect all of us.
What do you mean his life?
Your brother is dead.
Only 2 days ago, there was an attack on this manor that we're in, and we had to fight off a bunch of assassins. There were giants. There was a terrible scene, and Biff very bravely fought with us and died in the process.
And he sort of like takes a beat.
I put my hand on your shoulder and say, for his valiant efforts, Lady Jamandi knighted him, and Sir Biff was laid to rest.
And he just kind of sighs. I need to send a message immediately.
Sure. This guard, he's kind of an assistant. You can ask him. He'll give you stuff.
What?
And I think he just sort of goes with the guard and eventually returns. He's probably gone to visit the grave now.
So I'll let you weave yourself back in then.
While you're gone, can I like figure out who he was by the marks on his shield and stuff?
let's talk some society check. Just go ahead and make a society check.
Okay.
He leaves and Ari's like, what an asshole.
Who the fuck was that? 18.
Yeah, that should be enough to recognize region, if not like specific history. Trent, what is the symbol?
And do I recognize the Monmouth name is the other thing that I would be
You'd
thinking about.
recognize it as a name, but it'd be one of those where you're like, I know it. I know I learned it in association with this.
All right.
So Trent, what do you think he'd learn on from an 18 society?
You would probably figure out that the symbol on the shield is of the Crimson Reclaimers, which is a segment or group of the Knights of Last Wall.
Oh, shit.
Interesting.
He shares that with you. I believe this is a Knight of the Last Wall.
Do we think that he's actually Biff's brother? Like, I mean, obviously someone was adopted, but like...
Wow, racist.
Somewhat.
I love the idea that maybe it's Arthur.
Yeah, we don't know. Like, could be.
Keep your options open.
I
she's
hope
like,
you
"There's
change
no-"
it now that it's all the family is kobolds and Arthur is the only human.
Was adopted by wolves. I mean, kobolds.
She's like, but I don't know. I knew Biff for a few years and never knew him to say that he had any family.
So I think as that's going on, Arthur is actually at Biff's grave.
Okay.
Give me a second real quick.
Well, you're looking that up. Do any of your characters know what the Knights of Last Wall are?
God, I literally opened right to it.
I would say Nikolai has a decent idea of it being a noble, but that's badass.
That's a cool logo.
Oh, yeah.
Trent's sharing us.
So it's a red sword that goes directly into the top of a skull.
Yeah, I don't think Arya would know.
So would Nikolai share anything about, just heads up, like the top level, what the Last Wall Knights are?
I think that he would just kind of know it as like an epic battle, like kind of not a lot of people survived it.
Yeah.
And here stands one, so this guy must be, for a recruit, must be pretty badass.
All right.
Unless he stole that shit.
Always an option.
Would you, as
He is
GM, like
adopted.
to expand upon the?
Yeah, I guess Jason doesn't know a ton about Last Wall because I didn't play through that AP. I just kind of know bits and pieces.
So I think you just knowing bits and pieces is probably close to what Nikolai would know.
Yeah.
So honestly, if you want to take a crack at Nikolai sharing a little bit of in character, and I think have some fun with this. Nikolai may know things that are accurate or inaccurate, which could reflect the fact that like you're younger and up here. And so I think there's plenty of room to play this out over time. Or we can just kind of move ahead with whatever Lucky, Nikolai, and Ari think they'd be getting up to next in order to sort of set out on their adventure.
I mean, I think Arya would just be like packing and, you know, getting her weapons ready and getting her stuff all together. She's still very sad about Biff. And I mean, that was 2 days ago and she's very young and like, yeah. Ari, I think, came to do this because of trying to get away from her own family. So it's kind of like, I think that she would be very hesitant about the idea of like this random relative just kind of showing up and like can't really gauge the vibe. Obviously a very different type of character from Biff. And so I think that she's just kind of like, you know, like whatever, I don't really want to like mess with this and is just going to get her own stuff ready.
Sounds good. So what I'll say here, and just, you know, a little behind the screen for all the listeners too, is we're pivoting to a sort of different pace at this point in the campaign. We're going into a giant sandbox. And so when things are set up to happen, I'll totally jump in. But at this point, you as players really get to set a lot of the tempo and direction. Whereas we've been in some APs where there's some timing, I'll kind of feed you the next prompt, you can react, we can explore it together. At this point, you really get to pick what happens and when. So what do you do? You could stay here for weeks. You could set out on foot immediately. What's next for your group? And then Trent, you just weave yourself in as appropriate and we'll play those scenes out.
I mean, I think we would have probably said like, we're going to stay here for a couple days at least after all of that, because if not like maybe even a week, because like as much as it's kind of like what you do in a game like this, like we were involved in a major battle, got extremely, I mean, Ari was injured to the point of almost dying multiple times in the course of this one night. Like we would not be like, oh, 2 days later, we're like going out on this giant hike to like fight more things along the way. Probably like we probably would be taking some time to recover and get ready slowly.
Yeah. Lady Jarmandi is probably cool with giving you, maybe 3 or 4 days before she's sort of like, all right, you're taking advantage of my hospitality. The other thing that's worth noting is obviously other groups have set out. Now, keep in mind, the other NPCs that you know, like Amari, Harem, Lindsay, all of them, and Tartusio all have the same charter as you.
Yeah.
And so they're all looking to achieve the same result as you. And they head out basically this day that Arthur shows up.
I'd say 2 days is probably good enough. And
Yeah, I think so.
when he leaves to go look at Biff's grave, I say, perhaps the gods are looking out for us and they have sent us another warrior.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
I believe we should offer Biff's charter to this Knight of the Last Wall.
I mean, we can, but he seems like he's already got kind of a path figured out for himself.
Okay, so Jason, what did you want to do?
So Nikolai is going to give Arthur a moment, and then he's going, after talking to Lucky and Ari, is going to head out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of come up maybe like 3 or 4 feet behind you. I am terribly sorry.
Wait, hang on.
Okay.
So Arthur is like kneeling
at
the grave. And I think you would even hear him standing a few feet behind him. We swear with voices cold as death, while yet we stand and yet draw breath. We shall not let the dead endure, nor let them taint our land's verdure. We shall not falter, shall not rout, but cut them down and burn them out. We swear on vigil's shattered walls, our crimson oath, the tyrant falls. So long, Biff.
Ooh.
And he stands.
Wow, that was good. So he kind of gives you a moment and says, Arthur, I am terribly sorry for your loss, and I am sorry that I am the person who had to give you this news. Is there anything that you need from me?
Pardon me, but your name?
Yes, my name is Nikolai Medved.
Nikolai, I appreciate your candor and the information you gave. I need nothing. As you can imagine, Biff wasn't my real brother.
No, you guys... Okay, you say so.
But he was, for some reason, very important to my father. I'm just still not entirely sure why. Anyway, I've sent word to him. I'm just sort of waiting to hear back. Was there something you all were getting ready to do? You seem like you're geared and...
Yes, before I get onto that, I want to say that Biff also became very important to us in this short amount of time that we, no pun intended, short amount of time that we knew him.
Well, my brother is barely in the grave.
I'm making jokes.
So in light of this, I offer you the chance to take up the charter with us and join our group. We have, I hand you the actual charter. We'll be inside with Lady Jamandi. If you need anything or have any questions, please let us know. And I walk in.
We are available to interview at your convenience.
So he skims and...
Can you take a picture of your ID on the front and then one holding your ID?
He comes back in to where you guys are. I accept your offer. To be honest, I have to wait on word from my father, so I don't really know what else to do at the moment. I can't guarantee that I'll be here forever, but you have my shield in the meantime.
The cavalry of the last wall is known for its bravery and ferocity. We are very pleased to have you part of our group.
Well, I can't say I'm entirely a knight of Last Wall yet, but I will be eventually.
Indeed.
Even if it kills you.
And yeah. I think if Ari's back in the room at this point, she would be like, oh, well, it looks like your little brother beat you to the knighthood, huh?
Oh my God. Ari, please.
He doesn't even bat an eye. He just sort of sits staring.
She's 17. She's a child. Don't.
Wait, what offer did you make him?
Killed a giant.
Is he coming with us?
Yes.
Why?
Because we lost a sword and shield, and he is another.
I literally feel like Lucky and Ari are kids who are meeting their parents' new boyfriend or girlfriend. Or no, hard pass.
Hearing you say why is he coming with us? Arthur will attempt to make an impression on you.
Nice.
What's that against? What DC?
Usually will DC.
Will?
Yeah.
This is a society check from me, right?
Usually it's a diplomacy check unless you have courtly graces.
I do have courtly graces.
Now the question would
Badass.
be, courtly graces allows you to use society to make an impression if it is like a noble
Right.
or in those contexts. So here's what I'll say. Jared, would that work for you?
No.
So diplomacy check.
All right.
No, it just wouldn't. It just wouldn't.
What about intimidation or deception?
You can, I think, convince or coerce, but not make an impression with
Okay.
those.
He's sort of assuming, looking at you, that you might be a noble. So he's attempting to
Because
do
you're in a
this.
manor house.
Sure.
That's a 6.
I'll let you play that however you want, Jared.
So again, why?
The extra hand?
That means extra loot. That means sharing glory. Is that something you guys want?
I don't particularly want to almost die again.
All right. How about this? You can come with us, but you lead the vanguard.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Perfect.
Why is he so intense?
I don't know. He needs to chill a little bit.
It honestly makes me uncomfortable seeing Trent be like a serious character. I'm like, it feels weird.
I like it. I like it. All right. When do we leave?
Wow.
Tomorrow,
Whenever Arthur is ready.
I am ready
I'm still so
right now.
freaking tired.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now
Well,
we're
we're gonna wait
leaving
till-
now. You're 17. You're always tired.
Oh, it sucks so
Could
bad.
sleep till noon and you would be tired when you got up.
You know what? I miss Biff.
Where's Biff?
Me too.
No one asked you. Anyway,
So, guess what time it is?
Is this test time?
do we have to do math?
Who did bad math?
Was that the wrong drop?
It was the wrong. It's. As all of you begin to set out into the stolen lands, where is your first destination? Because I don't want to just say like, here, let's talk about this multiple 100 square mile area.
Where are we supposed to go?
The trading post, right?
There's a trading post to the west that has been having some trouble with bandits. That might be a good lead into seeing. Remember, your charter is to eliminate the bandit threat. So that might be a good start. On the map, Jane, north is to you. Do me a favor, though. Please don't write on the maps themselves because these are just paper.
Yeah, I'm not going to write on the map.
So to the west, and we have a lot of the Kingmaker maps laid out on the map over here, and using this old Boy Scout coin, this is where you are right now. This is Restov, and this is you as a party here. To the west of you, and if you ask, well, I'm not going to do that for you. How do any of you want to find out the way to go? We could have checks to see if one of you kind of knows the region. If anyone wants to ask directions, you could do that. How do any of you kind of want to chart your course?
Would
I'd
that-
like to see if I know the region.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
that be a society check?
Yeah, I'm going to say society. Is it a +6 on society
What
that you
about
have?
survival?
Survival would be sort of like following directions. What if someone told you to the west, you could piece them together. Society will give you a location. Survival will tell you about how to get there.
Okay, let's do society then.
I'll do a society also.
And what are your bonuses? Because this is a hidden check. 3. All
And
right.
I will actually
mine
also
is-
do a survival.
Okay.
Mine is 6.
6. And Jane, what's your survival
Oh,
bonus?
7. Sorry, 7.
Got it.
3.
3. So,
Oh, no, 6. Sorry.
okay. So Jane, Ari kind of knows generally that there is a trading post towards the west outside of the bounds of Brevoy. But it's lucky you would know a little bit. You've heard of this trading post. It's a relatively newer deal, like less than a year old. It's an old military fort turned into a trading post.
Okay.
Don't get overexcited about the word fort. I'm talking about like, did you ever go see those little like frontier forts when you were a kid in school and you're like, oh wow, a fort. And you're like, okay, this is basically the size of a large home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it just has,
Indiana is riddled with them.
yeah.
There's like a 3-foot tall wall around it. They're
Yeah.
like, this is our fort.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's a 3-building
It's a tree
estate.
house.
Yeah.
Basically. And it's like 3 buildings and each one's about the size of a room you grew up in, but they're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
surrounded by like a palisade style wall. You know it's about that big, but you know it to be, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. 5, 10. Oh, I did it 5.
Those are 12s.
Yep. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's about 96 miles west along an older road that is known as the South Rosslyn Road. It was built ages ago by eager engineers, but as money eventually ran out, most of it is degraded over time and over distance into what amounts to be little more than a game trail. However, for the first almost 50 miles, most of this goes along the Shrike River.
Okay.
Which is right here on the edge of town. So you can follow the road here, the road between Restov, and there is one more brevish city that's about 15, 20 miles away, Nevakka's Crossing. But the road, especially between those two and a little farther, is pretty well maintained.
Is there anything? Can we take like a ferry down the river or anything?
Okay, so I'm going to roll that check over. You know that the Shrike River, while it would hypothetically be a great route for trading, it's how most trade was moved with that sort of level technology. There's a number of waterfalls along the river between here and where it actually eventually connects to the East Selen River and then the Selen River, which is one of the most, like, the major north-south trade routes in northern Avestan. But those waterfalls mean that it's not commonly used. You might be able to travel like a day or two on it, but you then have to, it's called like portage when you pull out a boat and just have to like fucking hike it.
Yeah.
So there's not a ferry right now.
Okay. Well,
I think horseback is probably the best bet for us four.
Yeah, we got about 100 miles to go. So.
Oh, I have a horse, by the way.
Oh, what is your horse's name?
Horse.
Beautiful.
Ari looks at Lucky and is like, my God.
Really
Are we
creative.
going to do this for weeks? This is going to be...
So, do any of you, in terms of what do you guys need to do before you leave? Supplies,
I need to buy
what?
supplies.
Yeah, we're gearing up.
Buying horses, tents.
So I think a horse is 8 gold pieces to buy.
Okay.
So I think you could afford 2 horses and no other supplies. Or 1 horse, which could at least be a pack animal, and probably enough supplies. And we can handle the rest of those purchases off.
Can we get
pretty
some
simple.
other type of pack animal if it's just going to carry stuff for us? That's a cheaper pack animal?
Yeah, you can get a mule,
Yeah.
a
Pack
pony.
If it's just going to carry things, like if we can't even ride it, we might as well save the money and get a llama.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll say for the price of a mule, you can get a pack llama.
Heck yeah.
Dope.
Ari wants the pack llama.
A pack animal says 2 GP. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much cheaper. They're not riding strength, but they can carry a lot of weight and supplies.
Tents.
So tents, rations. Okay, we'll handle all of that offline.
Okay.
But you've got enough to afford at least a pack animal and supplies for everyone.
Yeah, I think like an adventurer's path comes with 12 rations or something. So.
Yeah, so you can
Or
get a
14
handful of
rations.
adventurers packs, a couple of tents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is near the end of Callistra, which is the February analog, so you're still technically in winter. There is a chance of cold weather. And I have already pre-rolled for multiple days of travel based on the month and the region you're in for both precipitation and weather events, which can include temperatures of cold, which can affect your fatigue and how far and fast you can move in a single day.
I love this game so much.
So we need to get some Under Armour
Give me some
then before we
crunch.
get out there.
I think you can get, I think it even says, like, so this is an interesting one, and I don't know how many of you have prepped this. In addition to whatever armor you have, what type of clothes are you wearing? And if you aren't wearing any, I'd recommend, because if it says, I think you can get adventurer's clothes.
Explorer's clothes.
Explorers, which specifically gives you a heavy cloak, which allows you to receive protection from minor cold.
How
I'll
much
buy
does my
that.
cloak that
Yeah,
I
I'll
my
get that too.
Your family one, your lined one, that will count as
No, I'm
enough.
saying the okay,
Oh, the
so if that one
survival
counts and my additional survival
Yes,
cloak.
your coyote is enough to help you with cold weather, because it's specifically set up for survival.
Okay, cool. So he looks
Yeah.
at you guys and he's like, perhaps you should get a jacket.
Yeah.
Do you think Arthur already has cold weather clothes?
Winter clothing is 4 silver.
Yeah.
He will go ahead and buy some while he's here.
Yeah.
Up in the
Me
northern
too.
lands.
Same. We'll buy.
All right.
I'll buy some too.
So you do your shopping bit, you get some supplies, and then you start heading out. Do you leave that day in the afternoon, or do you want to leave the next morning?
Let's just wait till morning.
Okay.
Give us lots of daylight.
Okay.
It gives us time to shop and get all of our stuff. And
Yeah. This is preparations and then
Cool.
taking
Well,
off.
guess what, folks?
James got out 3 books before he said, guess what?
I get to hit the drop again. Let's talk about Hexploration.
Let's talk
rules.
about it.
Oh, yeah. And let's also put on some generic adventuring music. All right, so we're getting to jump into the Game Master's Guide, which, big fan. And there's an entire chapter on Hexplorations. I'm going to get to use this button so much the next 2 episodes.
What do you mean by hexploration?
Well, we're looking at a map in front of us with a bunch of hexes. And what this is there's actually 4 separate pieces of map that I picked up for this. At some point, I need to like mount them on poster boards and we can do like a murder board, put string between where you've been or something. So what you're looking at is this map. Each hex, if you ever hear us referring to hexes on the show, each hex is 12 miles across. Now, for the sake of A, us being able to enjoy playing this game, and B, hopefully you enjoying, dear God, any of this as we play along it, we're not going to get insanely granular. We're not going to get wildly granular. And the benefit to that is, honestly, the rules for this are pretty high level. Trent and I have done some hexplorations on a smaller scale that can get a little more granular, but the rules out of the book for this are pretty straightforward. There's lots of individual activities you can do if you're not traveling, but largely if you're traveling, the whole group has to pick doing one of 2 activities, and that is traveling or reconnoiter. Now, it's worth noting, the book does explicitly say you are totally allowed to form multiple separate groups. It's just that if one of them then encounters a random encounter, you've split the party.
Let's not do that. At least not right now.
Yeah, I'm going to complain the whole time, but I will hang out with the group.
I feel like if anybody's going to leave us, it's Lucky.
That's true. Lucky literally ran away and left us all to die.
Yeah, I say I'm
Nobody
not leaving,
addressed
but I don't bet on it.
I was going to write these 2 options down, and I have no idea how to spell reconnoiter.
When you write it down, I was like, she's definitely going to have to spell that one out.
Hold on, I'm going to try.
Reconnoiter. So the way that it works, and I really like this, is you essentially get a number of hexploration activities per day for the group. And that's determined by the slowest movement speed of your group. So right now you're not all on horses, so that's going to determine it. So just quick round the table, what is your speed? Because it then extrapolates that into overland movement speed, average move, over time, and for area, and it sort of creates a currency for that. I'm guessing it's 25 for most of you.
Yeah.
Well,
25.
Yeah.
It's 25 for me unless I have panache. And so I'll just be tripping everybody the whole time to get 30.
Totally a teenager thing. You're doing the kick
Just
their feet out from under them behind.
Yeah, or like when you like kick somebody's knee from behind and their legs give out.
The bottom of their shoe and make their leg go out.
I feel like that would make someone else slower, and because the points are determined
So
by
it would just
slowest.
come out in the wash. Like,
Yeah.
Trent, how fast is Arthur?
25.
Cool. Oh, because do you have enough strength to wear your armor?
Yup.
Yup.
So what's going to happen there is that means all of you have 15 to 25 feet. That means you will get 1 hexploration activity a day.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
And so traveling allows you to move between hexes. The amount of movement you get per hex activity is based on a few factors. If it's over open land, it's 1. If it's difficult terrain, it costs 2. Or if it's like closed, it costs 2. If it's difficult, you can modify that by a number. If it's along a road, you have it. So with 1 hexploration activity on this map, if you're along the road, you can move into 2 hexes along the road. Reconnoiter is to explore a hex once you're in it. There's different types of encounters loaded up on my end because there's a rule for that. And things that are marked like landmarks, you'll find automatically, even if you don't explore. Things that are, I mean, heck, landmarks are so big that you'll often even notice them from 1 hex away, which can be really helpful. You're walking along and it'll let you know, like, yeah, to your south, you might see or notice this or that. But then standard ones you find if you reconnoiter without a check. And so you might not find them if you just walk through. And then there's secret ones. There's like there's things you might only find if you like roll a certain check, and it'll see sort of set it up. So you can spend more time going through places. But if you're just like, we just want to get to that freaking trading post, you can just travel. Travel along the road, it's faster, but there's also a higher chance that you'll come across random encounters or have to deal with other things. So now that we've had that wonderful sort of Final Fantasy-esque music, let's go ahead and get you traveling westward along the Shrike River and the South Rosslyn Road.
Let's go.
So you head off on day 1, and I'm not going to hit the button again, but because there's a rule for that, I can tell you that this first day, there's no rain. It's a clear sky day in late February with good temperatures, not extremely cold, but a nice, rather warm temp. So you can move this coin, which we're using to represent the party, 2 hexes if it's along the road, or just 1 if you're not following a road. So where would you like to go?
Oh, damn.
I mean, we've got to stick to the road, right?
Yeah, if we're following the river and the road, yeah. So 2 hexes to that next coin.
Yep, so that next coin I was
to
marking...
me, I just see this as like, if we go on the road, we're going to get attacked by bandits.
Yeah,
and if
I
we
know.
go
At some
in
point it's
the
gonna happen.
forest, we're going to get attacked by some scary wild animal.
Yeah.
Well,
Let the bandits come.
good thing this is like combat-centered gameplay.
Sure.
So a day of travel. So you've left Restov, the sort of southern point of culture and pride for Brevoy, and you travel for a day west, the same direction of these rivers running down from the mountains to the east. And you reach, by the end of this first day, Novatka's Crossing. You're able to kind of pick it out from a little ways away. It's a small village. It's actually the southernmost village in Rossland. Any of you who are sort of familiar with the area know it's not big. It's like 140 people sort of size. And you're able to kind of pick it out. It's surrounded by wooden palisades, and it's just right on the northeastern bank of the Shrike River. It's also one of the few crossing points of the Shrike River with a good bridge. You roll up, get into town, and there's not a ton here. A little bit of chatter. You have to get let through at the gate and kind of see your group coming up, and one of the guards, "Oh, who goes there? State your business."
Ari looks to Nikolai.
Oh, I thought he was going to talk.
Oh, yeah. Ari looks to this guy.
We are adventurers. We are on a charter from... Just forgot the name of the place we just left. You said it 5 times.
Restov?
Yeah, Restov. We are traveling from Restov. And I have the charter in my hand. I kind of...
Oh. All right, yeah, of course, gotta come through. Not the first of your kind. Rather smaller than the last group, right? But good to see you all the same.
The last group?
Oh, yeah, kind of leans in. Well, you see, one sort of nobleman came through lately here with it was like a small army, it seemed like.
Was it Varn?
Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
his name?
Yeah, me guys was. Came through here with a small army, headed south, said he was heading up to the Highlands and the Northern Heights. Kept saying he was going to establish somewhere called Varnhold. Never seen folks like that. God, took up every room in town. I mean, you know, for the nobles. Of course, if you're just a soldier like me, you got to camp out on the grounds, and on cold nights like this, you know, it's a hard ground. Well, I mean, I've got my home. Thought about, you know, selling out one of the rooms and camping myself, but...
Yeah, good story.
Is there a place for us to stay the night?
Well, it's not much. It's a small public house in town. You know, probably got some rooms there. Maybe some, you know, they might have room in the inn. Especially now that, you know, Vaughn and all his folks have left.
Yep, that's where we're
Let's
headed.
go
then.
check it out.
All right. Well, on your way. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
And
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, kind sir.
you come into town. It's mostly humans. You see a couple gnomes or dwarves around as well, but it's a small community. You can tell that like the palisades aren't just for looks. You've seen a couple of scars on them. You know that banditry is an issue out here, hence why you have the charter. Be able to find a place to stay. If you want to stay somewhere nice to sleep in a bed, 5 coppers a piece will get you room, board, food, drink for an evening. It's not great, but you know, it's not nothing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool. Same.
Can you all front me?
Are you actually kidding?
I front you before she even finishes giving you shit about it.
I've joined your group at your request. It's just that I've lived in my own personal tent for several years.
Includes a bath too.
Did you request that he join our group? I don't remember requesting that he join us.
I thought we talked about it before.
I just feel like he seems useful, but
So far,
also a little
not
bit.
convinced.
I will stay in my tent.
Aggressive. No, it's fine. It's a hazing thing. Don't worry about it. Come along.
It's really healthy.
Happens to everybody.
Nikolai's like shaking his head. Doesn't.
You would
Just
think
met these
Nikolai
people.
would be
Just
happy
met these people.
to have someone lucky being mean to someone who isn't him.
Right.
I actually feel bad for him. I feel bad for him a little bit.
I just feel bad for me being mean to Trent.
I know. It's so funny because
that either.
I can see Jared feeling guilty every time he says something that's like a snippy character comment.
It's great.
So I will also say, if you're in town, just sort of trying to educate, whenever you're in town, one of the things you could do all sorts of things. You want to shop, ask about rumors, find out about resources in town, because keep in mind, unlike many adventures in which you might pass through and never come back, this might be a place that you travel back to if you need things. So getting an idea of what's in town is totally something you can do.
Okay.
So is collecting rumors, or just if you have any personal missions, it's a great chance to work on any of those. What would any of you like to do in town? We don't spend a lot of time, but and nothing can be an answer, but would any of you like to do anything in town?
Yeah, I think Ari would like go out somewhere if there's like a pub or something like that.
There's the public house you're staying at.
Okay, well, at least like walk around town, see what's in town, and talk to people, and see if you can learn anything about rumors or whatever.
Do you want to kind of explore the resources of the town or gather rumors?
Gather rumors.
Okay,
I want to
Jason.
do that too.
Okay, 2 rumor gathering.
I would like to explore the resources, but with an emphasis on also if there's like a temple or a place of worship here.
Booyah. And Trent, what would you like to do?
So Arthur will probably be, if there's any defenses that they maintain it all, he's probably like walking the perimeter, making sure those are in good working order, that sort of thing.
Okay. Talking. Do you talk to any of the guards, or do you kind of keep to yourself?
Yeah, he'll just chat with them.
Okay, you'll probably have a good moment. So, Jane and Jared, either of you please give me diplomacy checks to gather information, or if you have another feat that lets you use a different skill, you can do that. Normally a secret check, but we're just going to keep this going. Trent, if you want to make any appropriate lore checks around there, Jason, you don't need a check because as you go through town, it's not big, as we just talked about, like 150 people. There is a Church of Pharasma here, and you kind of gather that while they're not certainly against it, Pharasma is the religion of this community. In the only structure for it is a Church of Pharasma, and it's run by a woman by the name of Kara Elarinka.
Kara Elarinka. Okay.
Yep, and she seems like she's pretty experienced, and she's seen quite a few things. This is one of the most like outpost areas, so there are bodies that are brought back. There's a graveyard that she tends to in her place. She'll chat with you kind of briefly, and it seems nice. For some context, we're talking like level 6 cleric. So there are some spells available here, up through maybe even like 3rd level spells that you can come. It's a Pharasma. They don't really do stuff for money, but there's that option on the table. So you do figure that out. Only other major things here is you sort of get a couple names while you just sort of get an idea of the resources here in town. You'll also learn the name of Irvin Rivenusu. Irvin Rivenisu, the mayor.
Okay.
Rivenisu. And Trent, what was your role?
So I did warfare lore.
Heck yeah.
That's a 14.
You'll get a chance to meet and talk to Lowen Cavan, the local sheriff and commander of the town guard here. Just kind of establishing that. All right, rumor checks.
21 for Ari.
Damn.
22.
All right.
Ooh. You made that up.
I didn't.
So,
Rolled a 17.
each of you do hear some things around town. Ari, around town, do you feel like you're drinking?
Yeah.
So over a mead with a local, like a trader that's kind of coming through the area, you hear like maybe like a trapper or like someone who moves in furs. Maybe like a full like caravan trader. Some of the bandits around here, which are always a problem. I hear they're wearing amulets. Looks like a stag's skull. They're the worst kind. These bandits belong to a debased cult dedicated to a hideous animal demon. It's growing stronger in the woodlands.
The fuck?
Creepy.
All right.
Just like mental note, be very scared.
Nikolai's not pleased with the
Yeah, he
idea
wouldn't
that
like
there's
that.
a red stag murder cult running around the woods.
Does sound a little terrifying.
Well, the stag is our symbol, so it's like, is the Erastil symbol. So it's like, who the fuck are these people?
Who are you?
Lucky. I like to imagine, if you'll allow me a little narrative license here, Jared, I like to imagine that it's not someone you're talking with, but you're eavesdropping on.
I am. My feet is reed lips.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
amazing.
Yes.
perfect.
So yeah, I
Val
think,
had that too.
Did she?
Mhm.
Nice.
Ooh. I think you're probably paying attention to a couple of gatherers, like folks who do maybe some farming, but some gathering in the region, and you hear them talking. And let me see if I can just kind of jump into this.
Sure.
Well, I mean, we get the normal stuff out there, but seems like more and more year to year. We're seeing all sorts of weird plants and mushrooms and fungi growing everywhere. Don't right seem natural up here. Never seen it my whole life or anything like it. Nothing my grandparents or even my nan ever seen before. Ugh. Gives me the willies. I don't know where it's coming from. Jane's losing it.
That
So
man is
weird.
afraid of shrooms.
Had a bad trip.
And his nan has just never seen anything like it.
Oh, you know what it's like? She grew up here. She's the one who taught me as a child what to eat, what not to eat. Pick this, leave that. Use it in a tincture with a little bit of warm water and milk. That's all to help with a headache.
And Lucky stops paying attention.
And I'm no longer reading those lips.
Skip dialogue, skip dialogue, skip dialogue. All right. And
Can
Yeah.
I do one more like pointed
fuck yeah.
gather information kind of deal?
Mm. If it's pointed, I'm going to make it a secret check.
I think Lucky just wants to know what.
What love is?
Yeah, he definitely needs to know that. No, he wants to know like Varn, whether their presence there was disruptive or whether it was peaceful, or
Oh, yeah.
he just wants to know like what the general impression of Magar Varn is.
What skill do you want to use? Do you want to do you want to eavesdrop or do you want to ask around?
Let's we can use society or diplomacy.
Your choice.
Let's use society. It's
Okay.
at +6.
All right. You get a lot of mixed stuff. I think it disrupted a lot of people. You seem to get that it disrupted a lot of people's routines.
Yeah.
But they were respectful and they paid well. And Yegar has not much of a reputation, but his family's well known. He's not super, but the accounts you got from a few people is that like he paid for the rooms. He was excited. Fine enough.
Okay.
It's sort of the talk of the town, but in a lot of just the way, like they've just almost never had that many people come through.
Yeah, not in a way that like he was causing issues for them.
Not necessarily.
By more than just their presence.
You do hear a little bit of chatter that's sort of speculating about like, wow, this like that. Oh, these sword lords sending folks out into these lands going to stir things up, like kicking a nest full of little stinging insects. Who knows what it's like? It's something we might, they might be all set to want the honey, but we are going to have to deal with the bees.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
I'd share with Ari
Ooh.
and Nikolai if he's around. If he's
Yeah,
around.
if
I'm
I'm
not going out of my way to find Nikolai, but
If I'm back at the temple, still
then I'd just share with Ari.
Yeah, I
Without
heard
some-
something about a really terrifying sounding like cult situation with the bandits. I don't know what we're getting into here, but
Great.
doesn't seem like it's probably nothing, right?
We can
Probably
root
nothing.
them out,
Oh my god, where did you come from?
Jesus?
pull them from the stem,
Excuse-
destroy every one of them.
Yeah.
right.
Oh yeah, there's also some weird plant life growing out there somewhere.
Interesting.
Not sure how worried about it we need to be, but maybe when we're gathering food, we just keep an eye out.
Better
Should
be
we
careful.
burn it all away?
No.
No.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
Hey, you want to
You're
drink?
creeping everybody out.
I don't drink.
Of course you don't.
Ari's like,
You should.
Right.
Though. You should try. It might relax you a little bit.
Nights do relax, but only right before a fight.
What
do you do for
doesn't
fun?
quite seem that we're there yet. We
Yeah.
have been just doing nothing for quite some time now.
Well, you did tell me that you're not a knight, so
Dude, that's what I thought you were going to say. Knights don't rest, but I am no knight.
I'm relaxed.
The night's rest.
You seem,
Night's
super
rest.
relaxed. You seem super relaxed.
When do we fight?
Can I ask the Pharasman cleric a question before we destroy this town on accident?
Of course, Nikolai. What is it?
We hear about the bandits in these areas. Is there more deaths recently than before? Strange deaths? Anything like that?
Well, banditry's always a problem in this area. It's sort of the mark of the river kingdoms, and as far south as we are in Brevoy, it's not, not much of a distinction here. Go just a day, even tomorrow as you leave, you'll leave the edge of Brevoy and into the stolen lands, as they call it. But I suppose, yes, there have been a few more reports of banditry, but it does ebb and wane. I guess, though, yeah, now that...
Those mean the same thing.
Oh, it does...
Why does he
wax
just
and
keep
wane.
showing up?
It's just showing up everywhere.
Banditry does wax and wane throughout the years. It falls outside of the river freedoms and is not talked much by the council in Daggermark. So yes, it'll happen. But over the last at least 2 or 3 months, the numbers have been climbing rapidly. If it doesn't taper off and change, then it will be a more notable season of banditry than in my time here.
We were attacked at Lady Jumandi's manor in Rosslyn.
Rumors had made it this way that the nobles were incurring some extra attention, but I didn't know the details.
Yes, we lost one of our own. It shook us.
I'm sorry that it was their time.
How do you... He sits down in a pew and looks at her. How do you carry one who is lost with you?
The same that I carry one who's alive. It's their time. It's their day. The Lady of Graves sees it as such. And in the same way I care for them in life, I care for them in death. I just get the privilege and honor to help them make that transition. That's all any of us can do.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
As I leave, I drop a couple coppers in the whatever charity box they have.
She just nods and thanks. You all get some sleep, wake up the next day, and head west, right?
Where are the
Yeah.
bandits?
Just turning more and more into just like a robot. Where are the bandits?
Where are the bandits?
We traveled that way.
Yep, west we go.
Are you looking for the bandits, Arthur?
Any group that would seek to do harm to innocents.
And Ari, as they're walking along, is just going to spend the whole walk just talking to Arthur about all the like embellishing all the scary stories she's heard about all the bandits here and making it as creepy as possible. Oh yeah, and I heard that they eat children and things like that, and just kind of messing with him, and then also regaling with stories of all the cool and heroic things she's done that may or may not be true.
Well,
Right, hold on, I'm going to see if I believe you.
Let's save those stories and that belief, because...
Are you fucking serious?
Dead serious.
Oh my, we should go back.
Because the sun comes up, rain drizzles down from the sky, and on the next episode, you will venture in to the stolen lands of the River Kingdoms.
Let's go.
The Live to Die podcast is a production of Live to Die Gaming. Follow us on social media at Live to Die Pod. Leave a review and tune in next week for more. If you like the amazing background audio and music, all that credit goes to Syrinscape. Make sure you check them out at Syrinscape.com.